Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss supply chain integration. There are three types of supply chain management integration which companies use. Number one, vertical integration. Number two, horizontal integration, which is also known as lateral integration. And the last one, the third one, is Keiretsu. Vertical integration and horizontal integration are business models designed to help companies increase profitability, but they do this in different ways. Both vertical and lateral integration are commonly used in today's world. Therefore, we are going to have more focus on these two strategies. So let's start with the vertical integration. Vertical integration refers to the practice of bringing the supply chain inside an organization. Vertical integration is when a company owns and controls all the aspects of its upstream and downstream supply chain. In other words, vertical organization is the one in which you produce raw material yourself, process the finished goods, you have your own packaging, transportation, distribution, and retail arrangement, and you don't rely on any other entity out of your company for the whole supply chain activity. Although it is not believable, since organizations directly or indirectly somehow depend upon the other entities too. You can hardly find any organization nowadays which is completely integrated vertically. So based on some major functions of a supply chain, we can rate an organization if it is vertically integrated or not. For example, if you are producing fruit jam and jellies, you have your own farms, you plant for future harvests, and you have your own processing, packaging, and shipping department. Let's have a discussion over advantages of vertical integration. Vertical integration helps organizations to ensure high levels of control and to avoid the hold-up problem, a situation in which an organization's contract with another party in its supply chain results in delays and loss of profit due to non-performance of contract or imbalance of bargaining power between the two parties. Supply chain disruptions due to COVID-19 can be the best example of companies benefiting from vertical integration since they didn't have to rely on any other supplier for their operations. But as I said, in today's world, there is hardly any organization which operates on this particular strategy. Vertical integration is about control over a whole supply chain. Vertical integration is a competitive strategy companies use to secure total control over the production and distribution of a product. The goal of this strategy is to own as many parts of the supply chain as possible and minimize transaction costs typically spent on outsourcing. What is the disadvantage of vertical integration? Although vertical integration gives a company strong internal control, it lacks the flexibility to incorporate product variability. Let's continue with an example of jam and jelly producer and analyze how it is difficult for a vertical organization to bring about product variability. Let's say people's preference for jam and jelly has changed, and now they prefer to have jam ice cream or jelly ice cream rather than having it directly as a spread on a bread slice. But since you don't have any infrastructure to produce an ice cream, it will be difficult for you to produce jam and jelly ice cream. Ultimately, you will have to collaborate with an ice cream manufacturer to bring this change, and if you will do that, your company's structure will change to lateral or horizontal organization instead of vertical one. However, if you will acquire an ice cream manufacturer, then you can maintain the status of vertically integrated organization since now ice cream manufacturer is under your company's umbrella too. Please remember that there is a thin line difference which changes the firm's integration type. If you are collaborating with some other manufacturer or producer, your organization will be considered as horizontally or laterally integrated organization. However, if you are acquiring the firm, then your firm will be considered as vertically integrated organization. Consider a second example of a gasoline cars and an electric cars manufacturer. people are shifting to electric cars. Now, if any car manufacturer of gasoline car is vertically integrated, how is he going to build electric car engines? His whole infrastructure is designed to produce gasoline cars only. So it is quite difficult for vertically integrated organizations to incorporate product variability and respond to market changes. In other words, vertical organizations are less agile. Let's now discuss horizontal or lateral integration type. Horizontal or lateral integration creates a leaner, more agile business model in which a company focuses on its core competencies and outsources non-core activities. A good example of this is Apple, which perform its own sales and marketing, product design, and the operations of its retail stores. However, they outsource their manufacturing processes to third parties. Let's move on to advantages of lateral or horizontal integration. Lateral integration strategy is the one which believes that it is difficult for one corporation to have all the expertise needed to excel in all the elements of the supply chain. In a lateral organization, an organization tends to focus on its core competencies and relies on other specialist service providers for the rest of the supply chain. Let's continue an example of fruit jam and jelly producer. Let's say if you are exporting fruit jam and jellies to some other country, then it is better to outsource its distribution and other operations to third party rather than doing it yourself, since already established distributors know their local market better than you. Therefore, they will perform this job better. Distribution is their core competency, so you will outsource this function to them. You can also consider another simple example of a third-party logistics provider. If you are manufacturing towels or clothes for export, you just need to focus on your own expertise and let the 3PL or 4PL take care of the logistics operations, since they have all the necessary resources and expertise to handle the export. If you will plan to handle this function by yourself, then you will have to invest in necessary expertise, buy the necessary equipment, invest in your own fleet of cars, and take necessary licenses, etc. etc. Therefore, instead of getting into hassle of such arrangement, it is always recommended to focus on your expertise and let the other specialists handle functions in which they have expertise. Disadvantage of lateral integration. Corporate ownership loses control of the outsourced activities and hence visibility is also lost. So, lack of control and visibility are the two disadvantages of lateral integration. Let's discuss differences between vertical and horizontal integration. Horizontal integration involves one company buying another company within the same industry, whereas a vertical integration involves buying a range of companies up and down the supply chain. The second difference is horizontal integration involves buying competitor companies within the same industry that are similar in size. Buying out the competition not only creates a larger company or conglomerate, but creates economies of scale, increases market power among suppliers and distributors, and opens up new markets for the company. Whereas when a vertically integrated company owns all or several parts of the supply chain, they become independent from suppliers. This allows the company to increase efficiencies, lower costs, and compete with other companies by offering a cheap product. Let's discuss the third difference. A horizontally integrated company has to stitch together similar companies, maintaining cohesion as the company expands, whereas vertically integrated companies must stitch together several different working parts of the supply chain, ensuring each disparate part is working as efficiently as the next. Let's move on to the third concept, that is Keiretsu. Keiretsu is an intermediate form of an integration that is used by Japanese companies. It is a business group in which member companies own small portions of each other companies, have interlocking business relationships, buy and sell products and services to each other, and is centered on a core bank that provide funding. Keiretsu is a Japanese term describing a specific type of corporate structure of firms. In this, many companies in the supply chain network or from other sectors are linked to each other in some way or the other. It could be by buying small stakes in each other or association as supplier, seller, etc. Thus, every company has some sort of a close business relationship with another company in the network. Keiretsu is an informal alliance or loose conglomeration of various companies that are associated or interconnected with each other in some way. The primary objective behind such a type of corporate structure is to encourage mutual gains, something that is not possible under the traditional relationship of a company and its supplier. The network of companies may include supply chain firms, financial organizations, and distributors, etc. etc. There are two types of Keiretsu: horizontal Keiretsu and vertical Keiretsu. In horizontal Keiretsu, there is no boss or no one among all the companies lead the group, whereas in vertical Keiretsu, one big company leads the group and smaller companies in the group are usually the suppliers to the leading company. Let's discuss advantages of Keiretsu. In Keiretsu, the member companies share best business practices and this helps to reduce the risk. Since most of the raw material comes from within the group, it helps to reduce costs. Moreover, it increases efficiency because of better coordination between the member companies. The member companies hold a stake in each other through cross shareholding. This prevents companies from hostile takeover attempts. The information sharing within the group helps to boost the efficiency of the member companies. The invention of the just-in-time inventory system is a good example of this type of sharing. Let's discuss disadvantages of Keiretsu. Such a group lowers the competition between the member companies and this may result in complacencies and inefficiency. It is also possible that firms within the group take on more funds than they need. Also, they may take up risky activities. This is because funds are easily available to the member companies. Since such groups are big, they may be unable to swiftly respond to the market changes. Such type of groups may lead to monopoly as well. Let's conclude our discussion. In today's world, lateral integration has replaced vertical integration as the favorite approach since it encourages outsourcing those aspects of the business in which firm is least effective, whereas we hardly see firms practicing Keiretsu. Viewers, if you find value in this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and pressing the bell icon. Thank you.